This is the Hollywood Outsider, a weekly movie and TV podcast with a new episode every Thursday. And this week we're going to discuss upcoming releases, including The Best Man Holiday and Nebraska. Spoiler-free reviews of Ender's Game and Freebirds are from the Outside In topic this week. Do we get a little tired of all the seriousness in movies this time of year? And have any of these serious movies ever changed what we thought about something? We're going to have latest in movie and TV news, including our own trivia segments. My name is Aaron Peterson. With me today are my fellow hosts, Scotty Clark.
Freebird.
Justin McCumber.
Not again! Jesus.
Make that thing go away.
That joke will never get old.
Actually, it
Never.
It did after the first time.
It did last week when you started
Never.
it. And Brian Williams.
Hey, what's up?
You don't have any horrible theme songs to discuss?
Nope, but hey, the night's still young.
Sometimes we have done like a memorial or a moment of silence for fallen stars. Should we do that for Blockbuster? Did you guys hear the news about this? That Blockbuster is officially closing the final 300 stores?
I did because I followed The Hollywood Outsider on Facebook, which you can follow yourself at www.facebook.com/.
We did not pay him to do this. I'm just letting you know.
HTTP.
No, seriously, did you guys hear this? I mean,
I did.
That's the last official chain of video stores that I'm aware of. I mean, Family Video, I think, is still in some community. Do you guys have that in Texas and Georgia? Like a Family Video, or do you have a chain out there anywhere?
We've got a couple small ones down here, like Video Warehouse and stuff, but I don't think they're too far behind Blockbuster at this point.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, all the Blockbusters in our area have been gone for at least a couple of years, haven't they?
Yeah, I worked there for a couple of years, too.
I did.
I'm kind of sad.
Yeah, I worked there for a while.
I've never heard of Family Video.
It's like a chain.
I think it's
in the
Midwest.
Midwest.
Yeah.
Midwest.
Well, I mean, I gathered that from the context of what you said.
Family? That's what threw you off.
Because
they don't
there's
have
no
that in
families
Texas.
in the South.
They don't have families in Texas.
Yeah.
Do you guys have?
That's...
Do you guys have chains there? I mean, like, what's your big?
No,
video
we
chain?
live in the woods, so we don't have none of that fancy schmancy city shit you folks got up north.
They used up all the chains with the slaves down in the South.
Oh my God!
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. I don't know what to say.
God. He got way uncomfortable real quick.
And it was Scott.
Oh.
That's the best part. It was Scott.
Oh, jeez.
Well, let's move on from that. You can vote for us for the Podcast Awards
Please vote for us.
at podcastawards.com until November 15th. You can vote once a day. Remember, you got to verify your vote. All you got to do is go on to podcastawards.com, find a Hollywood Outsider under Best Movies Film, and click it, fill in the bottom where it asks your name and stuff, and submit, then verify your vote. You're all good.
Did you just make a clicking noise with your tongue?
I did. You never know when they need a real reference point.
I don't think your tongue's it, but
I
guess
can
you
do
what you gotta do.
I can do a helicopter too if you can do an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That sounds filthy, and I don't want to get involved.
Wait a minute. What was that?
Marvel head dude Kevin Feige. Is it Feige or Feige? We always debate this.
I think it's Feig.
Feige told IGN that he should change his name. IGN that a superhero crossover with existing heroes at some studios has not been ruled out, but wouldn't happen for some time. Did you guys? I don't know if everybody watched it, but I know several of us did. Did anybody get the impression that he's actually advocating that, or that he's trying to play the question off?
I think he's playing the question off. I don't think this will ever happen, but he's probably doing the smart thing by not saying, oh, that's never going to happen, or, oh, I'm sure we'll do that at some point, because either way, you're kind of making a promise. He just straddled the fence, Aaron, Peterson style, and just didn't go one way or the other. He just kind of left it open, and that way he's not wrong.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely leaves the door open for whatever happens. Because as soon as you say something will never happen, that's when it happens.
Yeah.
So, and if he gives the leans one way or the other, it's just going to go all over the internet, kind of like
Bruce Campbell screwing all of his fans.
Exactly.
I don't know. Is this relevant to talk about? This is all speculation at this point. And even if it does happen, it's going to be way down the road.
I think it's great because the man gives an interview and says barely anything. And it sounds to me like he dodges the question. And apparently it sounds like that to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And And the internet picks it up as, oh, he's saying it could happen. It's kind of like Dumb and Dumber. You should relate to this. It's like Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. It's
Which
like
one is Scott, dumb or dumber?
Which one is Lloyd?
I don't think
Probably
that was
dumb. I think Jim Carrey is the dumber.
Scott's the cop drinking the beer.
Yep.
A little bit of Grandpa's cough medicine.
All right. Well, in movie news, The Wolverine is getting a direct sequel. Officially, they're doing a direct sequel. James Mangold is in talks to return, and yes, Hugh Jackman is going to hit the gym yet again.
At some point, his body's got to give out. I mean, he is just getting too old to spend that kind of time in the gym. At what point does his body his muscles just go, no, I'm not building back up again.
Dude, are you kidding? That last movie, he looked the best he did in any of the previous
I know,
ones.
but how long can he keep that up? Every time you hear him do an interview about it, it's just nothing but how often he has to eat and when he has to go to bed. Just the serious, rigorous work that goes into it. How long do you think he's actually going to keep doing it? Because as long as he's going to be playing Wolverine, he's got to keep in that kind of shape. And unlike the character, he ain't living forever.
And let me tell you, I can maybe manage about 20 sit-ups. And he's packing in at least, 300 a day? I don't know. I agree. I don't know how he can keep doing it. He's, 45, 46 years old now. That's a task.
I mean, you guys read the comics more than I did. Was there like a Wolverine, the silver years or anything like that?
No. I mean, he's basically eternal. Unless they take away his mutant healing ability, he's pretty much going to live forever or as close to that as you want to get. But as far as the sequel goes, the Wolverine made worldwide about $413 million, making it the second highest worldwide grossing X-Men movie next to X-Men The Last Stand. So considering that it cost about $120 million to make it, it was a pretty big success. And I'm sure the DVD sales and the video on demands are going to be through the roof. So there is a lot of money to be made. I'm sure they're waving a lot of those dollar signs at both James Mangold, because he did such a great job, and Hugh Jackman to keep doing it. I'm kind of wondering at what point is he going to become, with actor and character, the most movies made of a guy playing a particular role.
Oh, I think.
I mean, is he not already?
No, he's not, because you've got Q in the Bond movies. I think he holds that record.
Yeah.
But in terms of leading actor, I'll bet he's already got it.
I mean, because he's got the 3 X-Men movies that he did. He had a bit part in, First Class, the first Wolverine movie. The second one, he's doing Days of Future Past right now, and now another Wolverine movie. Jesus. I think the guy's just going to have Wolverine on his tombstone.
Yeah, but is anybody really surprised that this is happening? I mean, let's be honest, a crappy Wolverine movie is going to make money, right?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, because this one took in substantially less in the U.S., so I think people were a little burned from the last one, even though I liked it. A lot of people didn't. Personally, all I care about is they keep on the trend that they're going with this most recent one, where they kept it in a more realistic universe. If they keep doing that, I'm all for more Wolverine movies. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're getting closer and closer to how Wolverine should be. Mm-hmm. And if they can keep that going, I'm all for it.
And they're calling this a direct sequel, meaning this is going to follow up with him not having adamantium on his bones or his claws. So hopefully in this next movie, how long will it be before he gets his adamantium back? Maybe, if at all. Who knows?
Well, in other news of sequels that probably shouldn't happen, Lionsgate is developing Saw 8. And it's not a reboot. They're going to do a continuation because apparently they want more Saw movies.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. I don't know how on earth these movies keep. I quit watching these around, I don't know, what was it? Probably the second one or the third one.
Yeah, I quit on 3.
It's kind of like The Matrix, after you were wowed by the first one, the others just don't quite measure up.
Yeah.
Oh, be careful.
Don't bait me. Don't bait me.
Just a little jab.
Sorry, just throwing a Lost reference in there when getting back.
That'll clear it all up.
Oh, those have to come naturally. Don't force this guy.
All right. As much as I don't want to see this, As much as I don't like the idea of an 8th Saw movie, at least they're cutting it back a little bit, not doing it every year.
So how long is it going to be before they team up with another franchise like The Cube or I don't know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something? Kind of like the Freddy and Jason.
Leatherface gets caught in a trap.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. He's just sitting there. How do I get out of it? Where's my stupid clown doll?
I don't think the Cube movies are as widely known as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies.
Yeah, it's been a while since the last one had come out anyway, but it's just,
There it is.
God. Why do they need to... Can't they come up with a new franchise? I mean, they're doing Purge too. I'd much rather see that.
Because people go see them. People like torture porn. I mean, it's anything that's the gorier the better, and you've got the namesake. It's there. People recognize the name and go see it.
Because people are dumb, and dumb people have money, and Lionsgate wants them both.
This is a good point.
It's probably some ridiculous reason.
Put that in the poster.
Like over Halloween or something. It was the mask was probably like one of the top 10 selling masks in the country or some stupid shit like that. Where, hey, there's still a lot of interest in this. Let's start another one.
I do have to say, though, quick tangent. The original Saw film had to have the best special edition DVD case.
Yes, it did.
I have ever effing seen. Scott, describe it.
It's basically, it has a Saw, it's a slip sleeve cover that's clear plastic over the top, and it has a Saw halfway up it, but behind that, it's basically got liquid red, so it looks like blood dripping off of the Saw.
Oh, really?
Whenever you turn the case upside down, and I like the movie, but I saw the case. I wasn't going to buy the movie until I saw the case, and I bought it just because that case was so freaking cool.
What I think is weird about that sounds really cool, by the way. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut that off.
You squeeze it, and the blood kind of moves around the cover. It was really interesting, and that's something Blu-ray just has not gotten into, really, are these really kind of inventive case designs. DVD kind of did that, and it kind of ended there.
Yeah.
One thing that always concerned or made me laugh or chuckle, I guess, about this series is the first movie, honestly, a great suspense thriller.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic suspense thriller. I don't think any other movie in the series has been remotely similar to that. They just became torture porn.
Exactly, because
I don't think the first one was that way at all.
What made the first one a great movie is not what made the rest of them popular.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and it's hard to talk about that without giving any spoilers away. That's a movie that I don't care how old it is, I won't spoil that movie.
We're not spoiling Saw.
No, he doesn't want to.
We've spoiled the fuck out of everything else, but Saw is... That's just a step too far.
That's a movie that with that if you spoil that movie, it's no longer it's no longer as fun.
Oh God, now I want to spoil it so bad. It's like I've been challenged.
Yeah, I mean, because the ending is what makes the movie.
On the off chance somebody hasn't seen it.
I agree with Scotty on this one. Don't spoil this one.
All right, well, let's move on so we don't have to worry about Justin trying to spoil it.
That's all I could do to hold it in.
Iron Man director Jon Favreau is in talks to direct Disney's live-action update of The Jungle Book. Scotty, are you excited?
I actually am starting to really like this idea a lot more and more. I mean, Jon Favreau is known recently for doing the first two Iron Man movies. Obviously, very
not
big,
the third,
but very big action movies, that kind of thing. It might make you kind of wonder why he was chosen for what might be considered a children's movie. It's a children's story.
Did you not see Jumanji?
You're getting ahead of me, fucker. I mean,
okay, sorry. I thought you were actually asking a question.
It might make you wonder, but he was obviously involved in Jumanji, and he also did Elf, which is as family-friendly of a Christmas movie as you get, and he's directed that. He can do it. I'm really looking forward to it, especially when he mentions an interesting take that could be very cool. I'm curious about what that's about. They talk about some mythical things going on. I'm stoked about it. What about you guys?
Well, I just want to tell you, he didn't have anything to do with Jumanji. He did Cthulhu, or Zathura. That's what it was.
You know what I'm talking about.
That's totally different than Jumanji, the Robin Williams movie.
Yeah, I would give Aaron that one.
And
Jumanji
somebody would write us and say, "You idiots! That was was it Zathura or something?" Zathura. There you go.
Yeah, Zathura was no Jumanji. Let's be honest. The same story, but not executed nearly as well.
Yeah, there you go. I'm still against doing a remake. I just would prefer the cartoon. I don't need to
Yeah.
see one. I saw the one shot at the live action Jungle Book. I didn't think it was good. If they're going to give it another shot and bring it to life, I mean, I'll give it a look. But
You like
it's
seeing
not something I'm
bears?
excited about. I do like seeing.
Is
it.
there any word on
Big-
if it's going to be like the book or is it going to be like the Disney cartoon? Because they're really two different things. The book is much darker, so I kind of hope it's like that. Like the snake, for instance, that tries to kill Mowgli is actually in the book it's his friend. So
Oh, I didn't know
I don't
that.
know. So yeah, so it's just there's some changes like that and everything. So apparently when Walt Disney was getting overseeing this stuff, he basically told the writers to he literally handed it to one of the guys and says, here's the book. First rule, don't read it. So
Well, I now I'm interested. I wasn't interested before. That actually sounds interesting. They didn't approach that in the last reimagining, I guess is the word. Okay, this is in the early stages, but it sounds really cool. Or it could be destined for cable. I really don't know exactly. But the Twilight producers have acquired the rights to Savage. It's about a man who gets involved in a battle between Bigfoot and werewolves. I think it sounds either awesome or it's going to be destined for sci-fi.
I've never read the comic book it's based on. There is a comic book. It's put out by Shadowline and Image Comics. Apparently, it's been going for several years. No offense to the people who create or write it, to me, it sounds like the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard. And frankly, I'm tired of, hey, let's mash this monster up against this monster, because soon we've got fucking Frankenstein fighting off gargoyles or whatever the hell it is. We've got vampires and werewolves all over the place. Now we got Bigfoot and werewolves. I mean, at what point are we just throwing shit on a wall, seeing whatever sticks together, and then making a movie about it? Can we not come up with something a little more interesting than this shit? I don't. It just kind of eats me up that such seemingly crap writing and storytelling are being given opportunities for being put out there in other media that just don't fucking need it. They don't deserve it.
You're harshing my buzz.
I'm sorry. It sounds like sci-fi bullshit.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's hard to read this article and take it seriously. It sounds like
I know, that's why it's awesome.
Sharks versus zombies or something like that. Like
That's what it sounds like.
or with shark versus octopus.
yeah, I mean what's next? Loch Ness Monster versus vampires?
Oh, can they do that?
Gotta hope not.
Well, they're doing Bigfoot and werewolves. I mean,
God, that sounds. I think it sounds
and is it
good.
is it one Bigfoot or is it a herd
They only
of-
mention Bigfoot. They don't say big feet.
That's true. Would that be the plural? Would it be Bigfoots? I don't know.
I don't know.
If it's the Twilight producers, I'm sure there'll be a love triangle at some point. But
Look, all I know is those Twilight
If I see
producers.
Bigfoot fucking werewolves, it is done.
All I know is those Twilight producers really screwed the pooch on the special effects. So I got no interest in this.
oh, that's a good point. Yeah. All right. Fine. Everybody killed my buzz. Let's talk about cancer children.
To be fair, for 1 second, why would they even have to put money into special effects in the Twilight movies? They knew that they didn't have to because
Tween girls would go.
Scott, a lot of the big scenes, they're like in this snowy area.
I understand that from
It looks like something from the Muppets.
And how did the movie do?
I'm not talking about how it did good because you got, all these rabid teenage girls that's going to.
My point
what
is,
he's
you're not
saying.
going to have the rabid teenage girls that are going to go see Bigfoot versus werewolves, so they might be willing to put a little more money down on that one.
Maybe if one of those werewolves is Taylor Lautner,
Oh God!
he's free.
I just threw up in my mouth.
All right, let's talk about the cancer kid. Make-A-Wish, which this sounds really cool. It seems a little extreme. But the Make-A-Wish Foundation is really set something up for some kid where he can be Batman for a day. Brian, you want to explain exactly how this works?
Yeah, to me, this is probably the best news story all week.
Mm-hmm.
The Make-A-Wish Foundation is turning San Francisco into Gotham City, just so a 5-year-old kid can play Batman for the day. I just think this is freaking incredible, and I wish I was close enough to where I could just join in and be an extra in this. He gets to fight not one but two villains, save the girl, gets the key to the city. Thousands of volunteers have signed up for this thing, and they're still signing up, from what I understand. And I think it takes place on November 15th. But my question really is, seeing as they have the plot and events, everything's all planned out, how much of this is going to be a surprise for the kid? He's 5 years old, so it's not hard
he
to keep
doesn't
him
have
in
an
the dark.
iPad in the hospital.
So,
Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, I'm on Twitter. I don't know. I'm sure he's well aware of this, and I think it's a cool idea. Do you think it's a little extreme? Because I know that there's more than one kid out there. I mean,
No.
how do you?
No.
not even
Okay.
close. Not even close to being extreme.
It's just a fair question. I'm just asking what you guys' take on it is. I think it's a wonderful idea to bring this kid's like real dreams to life. I
yeah.
think that's just phenomenal.
And I hope it's the start of more things like this happening around the country.
I think it's great that people volunteered for it too.
Oh, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, plus the people that volunteer get to play villains. I mean, you get to be in a Batman play and hopefully not get arrested.
And make a kid's day. I mean,
For the most part, you're shutting down the city of San Francisco, one of the largest, most populated cities in America, to
To play Batman.
help a 5-year-old can run around playing Batman all day. That's unheard of. That is just awesome. I love this story, and I wish I was close enough to do something, to be a part of it.
Well, Aaron, you're so pale. You could play like Mr. Freeze. Chill out.
let's kick some ice.
Let's kick some ice. Gerard Butler and Vin Diesel have been offered parts in F. Gary Gray's Kane and Lynch movie. Scott, you're a gamer. Are you excited?
I don't get it. Like all the video game movie stories go to me for some reason.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
I don't know.
That's how we keep you here.
More video game movies. Kane and Lynch is a pretty violent, vulgar action shooter that has two characters named Kane and Lynch. Kane's a death row inmate. Lynch is a schizophrenic killer. They both get sprung from prison by a gang who claim to have kidnapped Kane's wife and daughter and demand that he retrieve a stolen treasure in order to prevent their safety. And then they travel to all sorts of places, Cuba, Japan, Los Angeles, to try to do this. Now, Aaron, you've had a lot more experience with this game than I have. Is this something you think will translate to a movie well? Or
Well, I know Gerard Butler's in serious talks, so he's probably got the
Right.
role. And
Vin
Vin
Diesel's
Diesel's
been
been
offered.
offered a part.
But
But
that's
I
it.
will say, if the part that he was offered is whichever one is the crazy one. I can't remember. Lynch, okay. And that would be fantastic to see him do something like that. That's what gets me excited. I would love to see Vin Diesel play a part where he gets to loosen up and be a nut. Because I really think he can do it. He actually has some acting chops he hasn't shown in a long time. Because he's kind of been playing the same guys. I mean, he's been playing either a Dominic Toretto or Riddick.
Triple X?
Or Riddick. No, Riddick. He hasn't been Triple X.
Man, that's a Wayback Machine.
So I would like to see him in something like this. I really hope he takes it because he can be that crazy fun guy.
Where has he been crazy fun guy?
In interviews. If you've ever seen him in interviews, he's actually really funny. And he doesn't talk everything like he's chewing glass. I mean, he actually can talk like a normal person. He doesn't just talk like, like all slow and Saturday Night Live-ish. He's, where it's just a joke, where it's almost funny to think about how he talks.
Your Vin Diesel impression is spot on, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
It sounds like my Stallone impression. They all sound the same. I would like to see it. I just think it sounds like an interesting idea. All right, I guess that's as excited as anybody else.
It's just not a video game franchise that I've ever had any interest in, so a movie made on it doesn't get much interest either. Though I do like Butler, I do like Diesel, so if they were in it and it's got lots of shit blowing up, certainly I will be there to watch it. But it's not something I have a lot of experience with personally.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I would kind of be in the same boat there with Justin. I would watch it. That's one I would watch for the actors, not necessarily the video game connection.
Yeah, it's not the one that I want to see the next film adaptation of a video game series.
Which would be what, Scott?
Mass Effect.
No, I would want to see BioShock.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good world. I could see that. Pet Cemetery. Speaking of remakes, well, we didn't actually speak of remakes, but if we did, Pet Cemetery is one.
If we did, this would have been a great segue.
This would be a great segue if I knew how to do them. Stephen
What's even
King's
better is when you reference how good of a segue it is.
Pet Cemetery is getting a remake. If you saw the original, that's the one where a little kid carves everybody up. Do you want to see a remake to this one? Is this one that you want to see? Because you know as well as I do, you read the book. The ending is not the same.
Thanks, Cal.
No, I mean, the ending's not the same, but as a film, as a horror film, I think Pet Sematary works. As an adaptation, not so much, but as a film, I liked it. Now, is there reboot or remake or whatever? Is it going to hew closer to the book, or is it going to be just a remake of the film? Either way, I'm still kind of interested. Juan Carlos Fresnadello, who did the 28 Weeks Later, which was the follow-up to 28 Days Later, I thought was a really good horror film. In some ways, I actually kind of liked it better than the original film. So I think he's a quality director. The movie itself that they're trying to remake was good. So I'm up for it, but I don't know. I'm kind of getting to the point where you guys, I think, were about a year ago, where these remake after remakes are getting old. I think I used to kind of defend the notion, but now even the happy-go-lucky Chipper Justin is like, for fuck's sake, is there not something new to do?
Wait a minute.
Wait, where's this happy chipper go lucky jet? When does he come up?
Oh, I do that on my other podcast.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I want it as long as they see. I'm a big fan of, if you're gonna remake it, give me something different, a little different. The same thing with the Carrie remake. The one thing I wish they would have done is, okay, instead of doing a shot-for-shot remake, give me the actual ending to the book. That's the one thing that hasn't really been done on film, on the big screen. They didn't do that. Here,
the trailers actually implied they were going to do that.
They did. They
didn't.
They did not. In Pet Sematary, same thing. I mean, and I'm not going to tell you what the ending is because a lot of people haven't read it. But use that ending because, they kind of do the typical slasher ending in the original movie. Mm-hmm. Use the ending in the original book because that gives me something different, so I don't know what to expect. I mean, if you read the book, you might, but I would like that. Give me something a little more original or closely adhered to the actual movie if you're going to remake that, or the book if you're going to remake it.
I'm on board 100%. If any movie needs a reboot, it's that one. I love the concept of the story, but I'm telling you guys, I didn't watch that one until my later years, and even in my early 20s, when I first finally saw that movie, it did not hold up then. I can't imagine what it looks like now.
Yeah, and Dale Midkiff's scream to that kid when he dies on the road is very closely. If you watch that and the Darth Vader "no" at the same time, they are eerily reminiscent. I'm almost convinced Darth Vader modeled that performance off of Dale Midkiff.
I don't know. I didn't find the first one scary, and I think that movie could be scary.
Yeah, I thought it was scary. That little kid was scary as shit, man.
Well,
it was scary for us.
Well, again, how old were you guys
when
you saw it?
We're not that grizzled horror veteran that Scotty is. So.
Yeah, I'm a horror veteran.
The first movie you saw.
I'm telling you, I saw the movie in my early 20s. You guys probably saw it when you were,
Yeah, when it came out.
Yeah.
Let's not get into age, man, because it's just a number, baby. Just a number. Real quick, we did talk about it before, so we're not going to go ad nauseum on it again. But real quick, we were right. Army of Darkness 2 was denied by the Chin himself, Bruce Campbell. So that's Hollywood Outsider 1, Internet 0. We win.
Welcome to Brian's Trailer Park. All right, so you're waking up from a deep sleep. Something's not quite right. As you're starting to wake up, you're starting to come to your senses, you realize, oh, snap, I'm not in my bed. I'm in a pit with a whole bunch of dead sumbitches, and I don't know how I got here.
I call that a Wednesday.
Well, that's what happens to Charlotte Copley in Open Grave. Now, somebody rescues him, but is this person the killer? Is it one of the others that can't remember how they ended up there? Or is it... So, I know Aaron is bearing Copley's love child. So, what'd you think about this amnesia-laden horror thriller?
I think it's great. I think it might be his first starring role, possibly. And I look
Well,
forward.
he kind of starred in District.
Oh yeah, District 9. Yeah, that's true.
District
Well, okay, his
There was
first starring
that.
role since then. I guess I should say that.
And he was kind of, really kind of the lead in the Europa Report movie too. So
Okay, so I
Yeah.
guess my point has no foundation whatsoever.
none at all.
But
Like most weeks.
yeah, that's true. I really want to see it. I had never even heard of it till Brian
Scott's
pointed
on
this
a
out.
roll. I just want that known.
I
Ate his Wheaties this morning.
want to check it out. I'm very curious to see what it is. It wasn't on my radar until Brian put it on my radar, so it's definitely something that I want to see. It's not really a novel concept. I think we've seen this. Was that one movie you recommended a couple of years ago, Brian? That was very similar.
Yeah.
They end up in the warehouse.
Unknown.
Unknown. Yeah, very similar to that kind of concept.
I thought the same thing.
Yep, and I would like to see how this one plays out. So it looks very gripping. I look forward to it.
I'm convinced I'll see pretty much anything with Charlton Copley in it. He's so entertaining to watch in any role he plays.
He's very kinetic. That's the word I would like to use because he's frantic and
You
he's all
you
over
don't
the place.
Not charismatic.
Not charismatic, kinetic.
Kinetic. Is it the new charismatic?
I'm trying to replace charismatic.
Is this a zombie movie?
No, I don't think
no,
so.
I think it's probably
'Cause the
closer to House of a Thousand Corpses type movie.
I couldn't really tell because there were so many. It looked like so many bodies in that pit that it almost seemed kind of post-apocalyptic. Or am I having some strange acid flashback?
Right, definitely that, but that's beside the point. I think it was more of these are people that had been in this circumstance before that did not make it. That's what I got from it. Am I
Yeah, I don't
wrong?
know, it was a weird trailer. It was interesting. I like trailers that leave me scratching my head. But yeah, I don't quite know what to make of this, but it's on my radar.
Well, let's see here. It hits theaters January 3rd, but you can actually download it on iTunes December 24th.
Ooh, Christmas present.
Yeah. February 7th, 2014 brings us our next normal guy who, in a bit of mistaken identity, is plunged into a quest to stop an evil tyrant from destroying their world. The thing is, these folks are actually Lego figures and include so many characters that would never otherwise be in the same movie, such as Han Solo and Batman, Abe Lincoln and Wonder Woman, and Michelangelo and Michelangelo, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
That's funny.
Well, I admit it, I've really never latched on to the Lego craze as far as all the video games and all that stuff. I just think this looks hilarious. What about you, Scott?
I am totally on board with this movie. I think it looks it looks so funny, just on so many levels. The animation looks great. It just looks charming. That's the only word I can really use to describe it. I can't wait to see it. I really
Looks
wish
kinetic.
it looks very kinetic.
Oh, God.
This is one of those movies, and I've said this before, but I really wish I had nieces or nephews that I could take to see this. Not because I won't go see it anyway, but I feel like I don't know very many people that I would go enjoy this movie with as I would going to see it with a younger audience. You know what I mean? That are just going to get into it, especially the younger kids that are playing the Lego games and just totally get into those games and seeing them on screen. It looks like so much fun. I can't wait.
You can get a van. You just pile them in there and take them to the movie. You got a whole school you could go to. Just get on it.
Jesus.
Got a fully stocked pond there, Scott.
Oh, crap. That movie looks adorable. I want to see it. Yeah, I said adorable. I got nothing else.
Yeah.
Is Justin still there?
I am. I don't want to be the shitter, so I'm just staying out of this one.
You think it looks not good?
It just doesn't interest me. It looks it's one of those films that looks like it just dipped its hands, both of them, into this toy box, and everything that it pulled up, it was like, yes, I'm going to use this, and yes, I can use, to the point where I felt overload. And I'm not a Lego fan. Even when I was a kid, I didn't really play with Legos. So there's no attachment in that direction. having all of these different characters from comic books and toys and stuff together on screen, it doesn't really do anything for me. The main character seems so fucking boring. Sure, he's the everyman who's going to have to rise to become the hero, but in other films, like say Wreck-It Ralph, that film took a similar kind of approach in that it borrowed so many themes and elements and characters from other things, but it was able to put them together in a way that interested me and seemed a little fresh maybe and unusual, and it really appealed to me. But for some reason this one doesn't. But you know, I feel like lately we as a group, and maybe me in particular, have been kind of poo-pooers on children's films, and some of our listeners have seemed like they're a little frustrated by that. I mean, I know one of them actually asked us get somebody who's got kids on the show so they can bring that perspective, which is a valid thing to say, but it does nothing for me. You guys are all high on it, so
I think your cat crapped in your Wheaties this morning.
No, I mean, it doesn't do anything for me. It does a lot for y'all, and that's wonderful. I'm certainly not going to say it looks like crap.
It's made by the same people who did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and that movie was to me was surprisingly funny and entertaining. So
I would say, to Justin's point, there's two kinds of animated movies that are currently in the market. There's the kind where they relate more to Pixar, where they are for kids as well, but they're more mature themes, which means, you know, any adult can go in and be entertained by it. And then there's the traditional kids animation, which I think this falls more in line with. It's probably what he's seeing. I think if it was more attuned to like a Pixar type style where they were going for the more dramatic effect and a more emotional heft, like Up or Brave or something, this might relate more to him. But Lego Movie is more for dumb, stupid kid fun.
I don't know. I thought the blowing up the Batmobile and Wonder Woman's invisible jet joke
was actually funny. I did laugh at that, but it was one of the few jokes that I actually smiled and laughed at. But I'm not gonna give this the kind of crap that I gave Epic. This just looks like it's a film that's not made for me, and that's perfectly okay. Epic just looked like shit.
I think it was shit.
I think it
happens. Sometimes those movies are shit. It's okay. Go ahead, Brian.
All right, watch these trailers and those from recent episodes at thehollywoodoutsider.com. Hit us up on Twitter at H_outsider. Go on to Facebook.com/thehollywoodoutsider. Like us. We like to be liked. It just feel good inside.
We like to be loved by you.
Leave us a message or text us at 818-81-I'm-a-ho or 818-814-6246. And, of course, you can email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com.
Stump the Ho. Whenever we decide to do it, we have a trivia question from one ho to try to stump the other hoes and those of you listening. This week it is Brian Cern. Brian, stump us hoes.
All right, a little bit earlier we mentioned, talked about the Jungle Book. So in that vein, in the 1967 Walt Disney cartoon version of the Jungle Book, there were 4 vultures who sang as a barbershop quartet. But that wasn't the first choice. Which popular band were the characters created for? The Beatles, the Monkees, the Birds, or the Animals? Kind of see what I did there?
Yeah, I got it.
You got that?
I'll go with the Birds because I have no idea.
Scott?
Well, the easy answer was the Beatles because I thought they were, but I'm going to go with the Monkees.
All right.
I'll take the Beatles.
You will? And that's good because that's the right answer. It was the Beatles. They had characters created. One that was definitely Ringo, mop tops, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But John Lennon apparently, when they approached him about it, John Lennon told him basically to, F off, go ask Elvis Presley. So there you go.
All right. Well, let's go to the big screen when we talk about any new releases that we've seen. Ender's Game's the big one. Scotty, Justin, and I saw Ender's Game. Scotty, tell us what Ender's Game is about. Your favorite book of all time.
All right. Well, the film is based on the 1985 book. It's about a kid named Ender Wiggin. Story starts with him as the youngest child of 3 in a world where most people are only allowed to have 2. So he's got this brand on him right off the beginning that he is a third, which is kind of looked down on in this society. His older brother Peter is ultra violent, while his older sister is very compassionate. Ender's kind of the center between the two of those, and he is along the way chosen to attend a battle school in space to train to be a commander against a race of aliens called the Formics. Now, the Formics attempted to invade several years ago, and the humans were able to fight them off, but the humans, in an attempt to keep that from ever happening, are now going on the offensive to go fight this alien species off themselves, and they're doing so by training these child prodigies to be commanders in basically a space army. Ender begins as what they refer to as a launchy, basically a newbie for current terms, and slowly works his way up the ranks while training in the battle room, which is basically a null-gravity room where the recruits train by playing a sort of a game to practice their battle tactics. As he gets into command school, he works with some of his fellow recruits until he is confronted by his final exam in order to become the next greatest commander. So I'm obviously a big fan of the story, and Aaron, this was brand new to you. Mm-hmm. How did you take this? Obviously, having never read the book, did you take to the story, or what did you think of it?
Well, I will tell you that I honestly felt like I was in your brain for about 2 hours. Ooh. I know, right? It's kind of scary. No, seriously, I've known Scott for a long time, and I've heard him talk about this particular book for a lot of that time, and how it was important to him and everything else. And I guess I never really put much stock into why until I saw it, and then I think I got it. No, not just because of the game thing. I kind of understand where you're coming from a little bit more in terms of how you view it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Which is, it's really hard to explain. I guess you just have to know Scott, but I get why he loves it. It just seems like, from the story that's being told, it seems like the perfect escape from a kid that's doesn't like where he's at, mm-hmm. I guess, so to speak. So the first half of the movie is kind of like the teen Top Gun. Yeah, and
it really is.
I was just waiting, except there's no sexy volleyball games going on. And the second half is kind of like Anakin Skywalker takes over and, leads the Force, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I really liked how they did it. I was very concerned that it was going to be one of those stories that got a little too cheesy. Mm-hmm. I never read the book. I just kind of know the story a little bit, but I was really involved the entire time, I just really liked it. The pacing was perfect as far as I was concerned. Okay.
Now, Justin, I know you've actually read the book before, and it's not really fair to compare it to the book, but as a movie, how did you like the story?
I like the story. I had read it years and years ago. I only read it once, so my familiarity with a lot of the characters and story elements has long since left my head. So I damn near went into it without, kind of empty, well, as I usually am, empty-headed. Though I did know the ending, which we obviously won't talk about here. So I did know how it was going to end. Unfortunately, when it comes to almost any adaptation, you run into this problem of trying to cram so much of the book into the film, and you can't do it. So what you end up having to do instead is kind of ham-fisting and forcing a lot of story into a very small space. And I sometimes find films have a hard time doing that. This is not a problem that Ender's Game alone suffers from. Damn near all of them do. Mm-hmm. So I don't blame the film for that personal problem, where there's just a lot of exposition given that has to cover heaping pages of book. But the way they delivered, I thought for the most part, it was pretty smooth. A lot of characters and their archetypes were present. A lot of kind of cliched moments are there, but cliches are cliches because they are so universal and true. But for the most part, I felt like they did the story as well as they could, and I was not put off by the final product at all.
I actually feel very, very similar as far as the struggle with trying to cram that much information or content into 2
I don't
hours.
have the disadvantage of knowing what's missing.
Right. Well, I mean, there's one big plot element that's missing from the book, or excuse me, from the film that's in the book, but there's I don't see how you could possibly put that into the story. So I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is how rushed the first half of the film felt. The majority of the book takes place in battle school, where Ender really grows as a character. He starts out 4 years old when the book opens up.
Oh, so they just kind of
Right.
started with the same age.
Right.
He's just bam.
So he's very, very young and grows into the young commander that he becomes, towards the end of the book. And, when you have a 2-hour movie, it's hard to cram all of that information into, even 3/4 of the movie that
I
they
get what
had
you're
to
saying.
in here. So, again, like Justin said, I can't fault the movie for that, but I felt like I didn't have enough time to really get the impression of the relationship that he was building and how hard Graff really was coming down on him. I mean, because the way the book plays it out is he's giving an impossible task. He overcomes it, and rather than being able to celebrate it, he's given another impossible task right away. I mean, over and over and over again
It's just
until
like
it's
boot camp. Yeah.
yeah, until he is just almost destroyed as a person, and you get that a little bit from the film. But it's just not quite to the extent. Again, not a fault of the film. It's just someone that's read the book that many times. So I'm not faulting the film for it. I just kind of personally wish that there had been there more. Now,
Well,
go ahead.
Well, the only thing I would say is that I think that the people who adapted this film and people who have adapted other books, I really wish they would look at what Peter Jackson did with Lord of the Rings, and that he had a book so filled with things there was no way he was going to be able to put all of it into a film. So instead of trying to cram and compact it all to fit into a movie, he just took those things, he took the spirit and not necessarily the wording of the book. And so by doing that, he strips away so much of what's unnecessary and gives what's left the freedom to breathe. And that's what a lot of adaptations don't do. And like the the City of Bones and all these books turned into films, I feel like I'm running all the time because they are throwing stuff at you in almost a nonstop exposition, scenes, dialogue, go, go, go. By the time they're done, I almost feel like I've run a marathon. These stories need room to breathe, and I wish they would do that by taking away all the extraneous things, find the core of what that book is really about, and then give that the time. I think Jackson, of any adaptations I have ever seen, I think he has done the best job of retaining what it's about without having to feel like everything must be put in the film, including the kitchen sink. And that was all I had to say on that one.
Right, and I've talked to a couple people that I'm close with that have read the book, and we've had the discussion of would this have been a good TV show, and I don't think that you could make a TV show out of this as much as I want to see it stretched out. Maybe a mini series, maybe, because this is very much kind of a one and done kind of thing. But I just want a little bit more time with it. Now, it is the very little negative I talked about at the beginning. The final act of this movie I thought was fantastic. I really did enjoy it. I was blown away at how well they portrayed that. The simulators looked amazing. I think it painted a much better picture than the words in the film did. As did the actors in the film, who I felt really did a really good job. We had Asa Butterfield playing Ender.
He's fantastic.
He was really, really good.
I thought he sucked the first 20 minutes, first 10 minutes, something like that. But then he really won me over as it went on.
Well, and again, do you think he sucked in the first 20 minutes, or do you think he was still that young child?
He won me over because I realized that was the performance.
Okay.
At the beginning, I'm just like, well, he just seems like an idiot. But he, as the performance went on, he really won me over. So by the end of the movie, I was wowed by him.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, he is holding his own with Harrison Ford and every other actor that's on the screen, and he's making them look bad almost.
Well, just think, we almost had Jake Lloyd
I know.
play Ender once upon a time.
Imagine where we'd be right now if that had happened. That was the talk 15 years ago. Ugh,
As far as the rest of the characters, I didn't think anybody stood out. Maybe Abigail Breslin as Valentine.
She was in the movie so little, though.
She was one of those performances where she's in it very little, but I felt like her heart was felt throughout the movie, if that makes sense.
Yep. Harrison Ford. He's Harrison Ford, and
I worship the guy. I can't really talk about him
Right.
without sounding like I'm gay. So Gay for the Ford.
Well, he did a good job, and I think he had the toughest job of any of the actors in that he had to take a character that had such an extreme position that he had to be the voice of and really defend, because the idea of genocide being excused as a defense is a hard one to give voice to and make someone in the audience go, yeah, I can kind of see what he's talking about. I may not agree with him, but he gives he definitely has a way of presenting it that almost makes it understandable. And I thought he did a good job of being extreme without being a caricature of extreme. I mean, he wasn't, oh gosh, who was a character in Dr. Strangelove that George C. Scott played, who was just ranting and raving this general constantly. Harrison Ford didn't do that. He presented a very believable guy who honestly felt that the only way to preserve the human race was to completely eradicate another species of creature. And I never felt like he was a villain. He was not the villain of this movie. I almost kind of wonder if there was even a villain in the film. But the only actor really who kind of bothered me was Ben Kingsley. And only, I think, and this is going to sound like a Brian bitch, but it's his fucking accent.
Yeah. Was it South African? Is it?
Well, he kind of sounded South African, he kind of sounded Australian, he kind of sounded New Zealandy. He just sort of floated between these three accents, and that never really, it bothered me almost every time he spoke. So but he was the only actor that really kind of took me out of anything. I thought the rest of them, especially Butterfield, did a really good job of portraying their characters in believable human ways.
I also liked Viola Davis as Anderson. That was actually I liked the switch because Anderson was a male character in the book, and putting her as a female was a good twist. I really liked that. So, final verdict, Aaron. Obviously, brand new to the series and have never read the book. You're probably the only impartial person that can actually rate this as a full-on movie. How did you feel about it in the end?
Special effects were fantastic. So if everything about the story worked, if $10 is the full price of admission, $7.50.
Okay, Justin.
Yeah, I wish we had a chance to talk about it. The special effects in this movie, I think, are some of the best I've seen this year. Especially that final battle game room where he is just surfacing his minority reporting, his hands all over the place. I thought it was really beautifully done.
Yeah, I will add to that real quick. The what he's talking about is essentially part of the entire movie actually is him fighting or conducting a battle in front of a
maestro,
like a maestro in
Connect.
front of an IMAX. Yeah, it's like
Connect,
like an IMAX screen. And the way that it's done, the special effects obviously are fantastic, but to do that and make it exciting is extremely hard to do. I would say it's probably the hardest task the movie has, and I think they absolutely nailed it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, we didn't really talk about the production much, but I like the music. Love the special effects. All in all, I would give this a 7.5. The only reason I'm taking away is just the way they kind of ham-fisted the story somewhat. But all in all, I did not have a bad time in the theater. 7.50, I think, is a good score for that.
Sure. It didn't blow me away, but as a movie, it stands up much better than I expected. The young actors are super quality, and the story executed well enough, and really should be given a fair shot, even by those who think they don't like sci-fi. I will tell you, you never see. Well, I can't say that.
it's a more human story.
It's a much more human story than an alien story or something like that. So if $10 is the full price of admission, I gave it a 7.
All right, and Justin, you saw The Last Days of Mars. What is that?
Well, it's another science fiction film. This one stars Liev Schreiber. It's about a group of astronauts that are on Mars doing some digging and testing, looking for life, minerals, water, all those sorts of things. And the movie takes place over the last day that they're there before they're set to leave Mars for a 6-month trip back to Earth. And of course, as happens in these sorts of films, a discovery is made. This one's a sci-fi thriller, so of course the discovery is not a good one. And what started off as a rather promising science fiction film that really kind of was taking its time, developing some good character work and all that, just in the second half devolves into zombies on Mars and really loses a lot of its, I don't want to say believability, because I mean the whole premise isn't all that believable, but it loses what the seriousness and the serious tone that I thought it had in the beginning. So it's not a bad film, certainly, but it's not as good as I'd hoped for. Liev Schreiber, though, does a yeoman's job of trying to carry this movie on his shoulders and bring it in. 1 out of $10. I'd give it a 6.
And I saw Freebirds, which is is an animated film about a turkey named Reggie, who's voiced by Owen Wilson, who I'm not a particular fan of, but he's saved from slaughter as the pardoned first turkey. And Reggie teams up with macho fellow turkey Jake, who's voiced by Woody Harrelson in full Tallahassee mode. I mean, he sounds just like Tallahassee. You find a time machine named Steve, who was voiced by George Takei. This so far.
Wait,
I swear
I
to God.
did not know that.
Yeah, it's George Takei.
I have to see this
I'm
movie now.
Steve. They go back in time
Oh,
to try to save turkeys from Thanksgiving days forever. Get turkeys off the menu is basically the slogan. Of course, Reggie and Jake run into the turkeys that will serve as the original first Thanksgiving, and they try to help them as well. Look, this is one of those movies. It's getting horrible reviews. People, for whatever reason, critics hate this movie. I don't know why. I laughed my ass off at this freaking cartoon. I don't normally laugh at cartoons, but I laughed out loud more than I have in any animated movie, probably since Up.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a tall...
I'm not saying it's as good as Up. I'm saying Up had a lot more heart to it, so it did a lot of other things besides just made me laugh. But I laughed a lot in Up, and I laughed my ass off in this movie. Some of the stuff they come up with is so clever, and the way that they cut the movie is so quick. The one thing that bores me about animated movies is a lot of them will spend too much time on story, and they just drag it out. And because sometimes for a kids movie, kids today, they dart their eyes a lot. They want something that's fast moving.
Ain't got time for no story.
Exactly. We ain't got time for that. It's Twitter on the big screen, man. And that's kind of what this is. Scott, you'd love this movie. I thought the jokes were quick. The film was fast moving, and the story never suffered because of it. And it never got boring. I wasn't bored at once. There wasn't a 5-minute stretch where I was bored. So I know that's given bad reviews, but the one thing I love about our show is we reviewed movies as people that love movies. So I had a lot of fun with it. I don't care what critics say. There's a lot here to keep kids engaged, as well as a lot of smart humor for adults. If $10 is the full price of admission, I also give it $7.50.
Wow.
I really liked it. Really liked it.
Huh.
And my wife loved it. So take that for what you
Did that help to your enjoyment of it, though? Like having someone to laugh
Oh yeah,
with,
laughing with her. I mean, and everybody in the theater was laughing.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't. Sometimes critics don't get it. Sometimes people don't get it, man. And Justin,
It
you
happens
also
more often than you'd think.
we've got one more, Concussion, which I've never heard of.
Oh, I hadn't been aware of it either until one of our listeners, Ashley, sent me an instant message over Facebook saying that there were a couple of movies that I needed to watch, one of them being Concussion. I don't know if it ever came out in theaters. I mean, IMDb shows it releasing on October 4th. I watched it through iTunes, which is also how I watched Last Days on Mars. That one opens up, I think, December 8th in theaters. But this is a weird film. It's a drama about a soccer mom of sorts. She's a woman in a lesbian marriage. Her wife has 2 children that she brought into the marriage, and she's trying her best to be this suburban mother, but she's finding that she's chafing under that, and she, through a series of circumstances, becomes a prostitute. And one of the women that becomes her client is a fellow soccer mom in her circle of mothers, and it serves to be a little awkward. It stars Robin Weigert, by the way, whom some of you will remember as Calamity Jane from Deadwood. She's also the lawyer on Sons of Anarchy. And she also played one of the sisters on Lost. So there is that. And Maggie Siff, who's also on Sons of Anarchy, stars in it as well. It's not that good of a film, but the one thing that I will give it is that this movie has no wasted words, no wasted time. There is no exposition in this film. It just drops you in and you're off with the film. It never explains shit to you. It doesn't bend over backwards to make sure that you understand anything. It just presents what it presents, and if you're keeping up, then you're keeping up. But if you're not, it doesn't hold your hands, and I found that so goddamn refreshing after all of these movies that either front-load it with text trying to bring me up to speed, or the characters presenting nothing but exposition throughout the film to make sure that I'm following along and I'm paying attention. This movie doesn't give you any of that, and that was so nice to not have that and to actually be treated like an adult. Unfortunately, the movie just kind of, it doesn't go anywhere all that interesting. Yes, I am a guy, and so yes, when I hear a movie is about a lesbian prostitute and relationships, I do have certain hopes and dreams for what might be presented, none of which was. So yeah, sad one for me. But even the story itself never really goes anywhere that interesting. So 1 out of $10. I'd give it a $6.50. I wish I could give it more, but I will applaud it for it not treating me like a child and giving me no exposition. That was strangely wonderful.
Box office. Ender's Game scored with $27 million. Bad Grandpa's still alive at $20 million for a $61.5 million total. Las Vegas gambled and lost with $16.3 million. That's not very good opening. Freebirds Flew the Coop, $15.8 million.
So we're continuing the puns.
Bad puns. Gravity is starting to come back to Earth with $12.8 million for a $218 million total. Holy crap. But I don't think any of this is going to matter because Thor will be out like by the time you listen to this, and pretty much all these movies will be gone. So that's, well, except for Ender's Game. Definitely check that out. It's definitely worth it.
You think Ender's Game will recoup that?
No, I don't think. I think it was like a $100+ million movie. They're banking on overseas. If that works out, then yeah. But Thor's going to eliminate the box office next week.
Would you say it's going to hammer it?
It will next week, actually.
All right, folks. So we have got 3 films opening up November 15th. The first one, Charlie Countryman. This is a weird fucking looking movie. Yeah, it's also, it looks, okay. The film, the description is a guy falls for a woman who's claimed by a violent crime boss. To say that that's what the movie is about, I think
is a disservice.
Is a total disservice. It gives you nothing about what the film is about, but it's one of those movies that you really can't describe. You just kind of have to watch the trailer. It seems to be more about a vibe and a feeling than it is about, a 3-act structure type of story. Mm-hmm. It stars Shia LaBeouf, Evan Rachel Wood, Mads Mikkelsen, Rupert Grint, who some of you may remember from the Harry Potter movies. He played Wesley.
Yep. Wesley.
So, yeah, to me this just kind of looks like a Shia LaBeouf ego trip movie. I don't know. What do you think, Scotty? Does Charlie Countryman look like a sort of film you want to see?
Not especially. It's one of those movies that I'm more interested to watch the performances of some of the actors than I am actually watching the movie. Mm-hmm. Like Mads Mikkelsen looks really interesting. He's just interesting to look at anyway. He's just got an odd face, and I like watching him act.
Unique kind of act.
I think Evan Rachel Wood is really cute, and she's makeuped up. And
Makeup-upped?
She's got a lot of...
This guy's like making words up.
I know.
She looks very different than normal.
Exactly. And I'm not real big on Shia LaBeouf, especially after... I think the way you said it earlier, Justin, really captures how I feel about him. The ego trip
Oh yeah.
of him. He just
Nobody likes Shia LaBeouf more than Shia LaBeouf.
yeah, yeah. So it's one I might check out at someday, but I'm in no rush.
No interest at all. I've had enough of the big big A-list actors doing artsy fartsy movies this year with especially Ryan Gosling. So
Now imagine if Ryan Gosling starred in this.
We can.
well, Shia LaBeouf isn't too far out of that category with Gosling. And actually, Gosling is. I don't have a problem with Gosling. I just had a problem with the movie.
Yeah, and Shia LaBeouf, he's going to regret like mouthing off about Steven Spielberg and Michael Bay and all the other crap he's trying to say. I'm going to go independent. I don't need. Yeah, you're going to regret that, dude. Based on some of your selections coming up, you're going to start calling Michael Bay begging to be in Transformers 14.
I honestly don't have a beef with Shia LaBeouf.
Jesus.
I've kind of found him charming in just about everything he does, but this is one of those films that looks like its ego is a bit ahead of its art.
Yeah.
And for that, my lack of, desire to see it is it's just beneath the floor. All right, next one up. This film is called Nebraska. It's directed by Alexander Payne. Stars Bruce Dern, Will Forte, Bob Odenkirk. An aging, booze-addled father makes the trip from Montana to Nebraska with his estranged son in order to claim $1 million mega sweepstakes marketing prize. This one's being marketed as an adventure drama. Aaron?
No.
Nebraska? You heading up there?
Nope. I am not an Alexander Payne fan. The only exception is, did he do Election?
Yes.
Okay, Election. That's the only exception.
The Matthew
Descendants
Broderick?
was okay, I guess. What's that?
That Matthew Broderick?
Yeah, he's in
Yes.
Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon. About Schmidt was okay. Sideways I did not like. I know a lot of people loved it.
I loved Sideways.
I didn't. The Descendants I thought was okay. It's just he's just one of those directors where his films always have a unique vision, I guess, but it's not one that I relate to very often. So I just not into it at all.
I really want to see it.
Okay. You don't have to. You look all apologetic.
No,
man, just
no.
'cause I don't like it.
This isn't the reason I'm saying is this isn't the normal kind of movie that I want to see. It's number one. It's done in black and white, which I'm not sure why. It doesn't seem. It just
Because
seems,
it's edgy.
that's what I'm saying. That just seems just thrown in there just for artsy purposes. I mean,
Or they didn't have enough money for stock film.
didn't have enough for color. I've actually always really kind of liked Will Forte too. He plays some goofy roles, and I've always kind of wished to see him in a more serious movie. This looks like a good catalyst for me, because it's not completely serious, but it's a step in the right direction. I think it looks interesting. I'm going to see where it goes.
It's just another one of those art house things. I just don't like Bruce Dern. So I'll pass.
Fair enough.
Wow, you passed on the first, you passed on the second one. That must mean you've got your hopes set up for number 3, folks. The Best Man Holiday, when directed by Michael D. Lee and starring some of Brian's, I'm sure some of his favorites, Ty Diggs, Harold Perrineau, who also was in Lost.
Tay Diggs?
Tay Diggs, Monica Calhoun. When college friends reunite after 15 years over the Christmas holidays, they will discover just how easy it is for long-forgotten rivalries and romances to be ignited. Brian, are you ready for your Best Man Holiday?
Yep, and Harold Perrineau also played in Sons of Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
He did indeed, and he was
Oz.
in The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions.
How about Oz? Can we remember Oz? We're not going to remember one of the...
Yeah, okay.
He did that
You
poetry
got him.
shit, and I thought it's...
We'll return to Oz one of these days.
Oh, look what he did. I see it.
It was lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That's all right.
Yes, I want to see this. This actually looks funny. I like some of the jokes, especially with the cell phone thing. He just threw it away. That was,
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
So I like the cast, and to me it just looks I can't put my finger on it, but it does look a little bit different than some kind of ensemble type romantic comedy type movie. So it looks pretty entertaining.
I have zero interest. I watched the trailer and I did not get any of that story that Justin mentioned. I have no idea what's going on in this movie. I don't know, but I really like Terrence Howard. I really like Taye Diggs. I like the actors in this movie. Nothing about the story says, yeah, I'm going to go see this.
If I have to pick one of these three, it'll be this one, but it's only because of the actors.
Yeah.
I really am not engaged to see it that much at all. So
I think it looks cute and kind of rather harmless. So
safe holiday movie, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an easy rental. All right, guys. Well, of these three films, Charlie Countryman, Nebraska, and The Best Man Holiday, which one are you most likely to head out to the theater and see November 15th? Scotty?
Nebraska.
Aaron?
Best Man Holiday.
Brian?
Best Man Holiday.
I'm going to go with Charlie Countryman, if only because it looks like when I go to the theater, I'm going to see something maybe I've not seen before. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to get that with the other two. And if only just to see something different, I would probably go see it, but I wouldn't be anticipating coming out with a smile on my face.
No, you'll see something that you haven't seen before, a new version of Suck. That's
yeah,
what I'm
probably
thinking.
so.
Well, you can listen and subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher Radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do, and I'm just doing it right now. Or through our RSS feed at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. There's a new episode every Thursday.
What's this movie?
What's this movie? Each week we play ours or a listener-suggested clip from a movie. And if you think you know what the clip is, email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Tweet us or Facebook us the answer. Next week we'll give you a proper host shout-out. Last week's answer was my choice, and it was Breakfast Club. Those that got it right: David McGrath, Douglas Clayton, Jacob Bahi, Sean McGuire, Sandy Koki, Ashley Stewart, Linton Bowers, Kristen Dew, and D.A. Cheney. I just want to say, apparently several people said it was too easy. I don't care because it was fantastic. So,
Did you hear Ruckus?
Can you describe the ruckus, sir? This week it is Scott's turn, so if you think you know what it is, let us know. Here's your clip.
Good point.
Seven's the key number here. Think about it.
Right.
Seven
7,
11s?
yeah.
7 dwarfs? 7, man, that's the number. 7 chipmunks twirling on a branch, eating lots of sunflowers on my uncle's ranch. You know that old children's tale from the sea? It's like you're dreaming about gorgonzola cheese when it's clearly brie time, baby. Step into my office.
Why?
'Cause you're fucking fired.
Okay, now let's go to TV and home video news. The CW is now developing a drama based on DC Comics' Our Man. Brian, what is Our Man? I have never heard of this.
Yeah, he's actually a DC character that's been around since like the 40s. There's actually been about 3 or 4 versions of the character since then. But it appears the TV show will focus on the character Rex Smith, who's basically this version of Our Man. He kind of sees an hour into the future. The basic gist of the comics of the character and stuff is he takes a pill and acquires these superhuman powers for 1 hour. Insert your Viagra jokes here.
Wow.
Well, if it lasts for more than 3 to 4 hours, then he calls the doctor, right?
Yep. Earlier in the run, it was the powers were strength and speed, but it kind of later became to slowing down time and even time travel stuff. So I don't know. The character alone really kind of lends itself to being formatted to a TV series. So it's one of those odd lower tier characters that I think has got some decent potential.
It's honestly one I've never heard of. What you said sounds interesting. I don't know how you make a series out of that.
Yeah.
I think you, especially if they do it with the time segment of it, not just, growing superhuman strength and speed. I think you could do it almost like a quantum leap type of thing, because he sees like an hour into the future of somebody, and I'm, try to stop them from doing whatever they were supposedly going to do. So, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see how it plays out, I guess. And possibly the greatest crossover ever. Sci-Fi is now doing an Anaconda versus Lake Placid movie. I have no idea why.
Well, Anaconda and Lake Placid were two crappy movies that happened to make a lot of money. They did pretty well in the theater.
Yeah, they both did.
Now, I highly doubt that the two of them together is going to make for a good idea.
Oh, it's going to be like a big giant alligator, a crocodile, I don't know which one it was, versus anaconda.
This is the type of sci-fi stuff we were talking about earlier that, like, we don't need more of this, we need less of this.
This is science, bitch. That's what this is.
Okay, Jesse.
I'm looking for it. I'm looking forward to it. I guess nobody else is. I guess I'm the only one that likes these crazy crossover movies.
Now, this is like a straight to the Walmart $5 bin.
Yeah.
Why are you making
Like I said
fun?
earlier, I'm tired of slapping two different beasties together, and unless forget it. I was gonna say unless there's like some kind of 3D stuff coming at you, and by that I mean I got no interest in this.
This is where the lesbians come back into play, right?
Oh, now you're talking. Now you're selling me.
The piranha underwater 3D ballet.
There you go.
Oh.
There you go. Oh, Kelly Brooks.
All right, let's go to DVD and Blu-ray, Scotty.
All right, real quick, we're looking at releases for November 12th. First up, Man of Steel, which we talked about in episode 98. Aaron gave it an 8 out of 10. Justin and Brian gave it a 9 out of 10. I gave it an 8.50. Turbo, the animated movie about a snail that gains superpowers that allow him to go much faster than a snail's pace. Brian and Justin did both see this one, but we didn't do an official review. I think Brian wasn't a big fan of it, but Justin did actually like it. Am I correct in that?
I liked it quite a bit.
Brian, not a big fan?
No, it was pretty weak.
Okay. We've also got Blackfish. This is a documentary about an aggressive orca kept in captivity that killed 3 people.
Just watch that on CNN. It will make you cry.
Yeah, and I'm sure
Great.
it's supported by PETA, I would imagine.
I'm sure.
Finally, we got IP Man, The Final Fight. It's a
Oh my!
Ip Man. Ip.
Ipman.
See, I don't know it.
He shouldn't have capitalized the P.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks, Sarah.
It's my fault.
But it's
IP, man.
It's Internet Protocol Man.
All right, last up, we've got Ip Man, The Final Fight. It's the latest martial arts movie to center around the infamous Ip Man. And last, we've got the final season of Dexter, which is now available on disc.
Ooh, yeah. Hit me with that unknown shit. Flashback.
With that, we'll move on to our flashback segment. This is where once every other week or so, one of us hosts brings to the table a little-known or obscure film that we hope the rest of you listening, as well as us at the table, will give a chance to. And this week it is Justin's turn. Justin, what do you have for us?
Well, I wanted to talk about a little something out there that stars Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, directed by Edgar Wright. But I'm not talking about Shaun of the Dead, and I'm not talking about Hot Fuzz, and I'm not talking about The World's End. Before all 3 of them did those films, they actually did a little-known television show in Britain called Spaced that you can pick up on DVD. I'm sure it's available. I think it's available on Netflix and other.
It is.
Okay, available through other sources, but they originally did the show. It was 2 seasons long. It came out in '99 and 2001. 2 seasons, or as the Brits call it, series. 14 episodes in total. But the show is about Daisy Steiner and Tim Beasley, who are 2 young 20-something Londoners who are looking for a flat to live in. They find one at the same time, and they conspire to pose as a young professional couple in order to meet the requisites to get it. But it's really about them and their friends. And they work at a comic book shop. It's all about references to Star Wars, it's Star Trek, monster movies, video games. If you're a geek and you have not watched Spaced, then you really owe it to yourself to give it a watch. It is incredibly funny. It's very easy to get through. It is not a time sink in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And it's also incredibly funny. It is British, so know that going in. There will be some lingo and maybe some styles of humor that not every person here in America is hip to or cares for. But it's a really good show, really fun. I didn't watch it until a few years ago, and I'm so glad that I did. Own the DVDs now, and I don't think I'll ever get rid of them. It's a really highly entertaining show. It's called Spaced, but it's set on our planet. It's got nothing to do with space. So yeah, there's your flashback.
All right. That is a really cool show, actually. People should check it out. Now, from the outside in, each week we talk about a topic on ours or listeners' minds. This week, we're going to talk about the serious movies that come out this time of year. Every year, Oscar bait, as we like to call it, is released. Very serious movies about very serious topics, sometimes a little too serious. You know the ones I'm talking about, right? Where I have to overcome this heroin habit because I lost custody of my 3-year-old who's dying of lung cancer, caused me to take her because I took her to work at the chemical factory, which just laid me off. Those kind of movies. Do you guys ever get a little exhausted with all this seriousness coming at one time of year?
Yeah, I do. It's the holidays are heavy enough as it is that we're all being inundated with everybody's wanting you to, and this is going to sound really cynical, but everybody's pushing, food drives, toy drives, give us extra clothes, give us whatever you can do, take care of the poor, of course, the rest of the year. Nobody gives a damn about somebody that's homeless, but for the last 2 months of the year, it's we got to take care of everybody, and so, and of course, so you leave that in with the Oscar season coming up, and then you've got, of course, the best way to drum up Oscar buzz is you got to do something controversial or shed light on some sort of atrocity. Here's a couple examples for you: Philadelphia. Released December 24th. Schindler's List, December 15th. Amistad, December 12th or 10th. The first two were 93, Amistad 97. Glory, December 15th, 89. Rain Man, December 16th, 88. Precious, November 20th. No wonder I'd love seeing the fantasy stuff whenever it comes to the holidays, because I get out of this depressing shit.
That's actually a
Sorry.
really good point. Yeah.
I'm off my soapbox.
No, stay on your soapbox. I like when Brian gets on a soapbox.
I think the only thing really about it that bothers me is that these aren't normally these kind of Oscar bait movies aren't the movies I want to go to a theater and see. Usually it's something I'd much rather watch at home, but because of when they do the Oscars, I might not have been able to watch all of the movies that are up for contention because they may not have even come out on DVD or video on demand yet. So because I'm not a big theater guy with those movies, I'm left uninformed and really unable to put a good opinion together about how these films should fare. I guess that's more me than it is Hollywood's fault, but damn it, I don't like to take responsibility for my own foibles. I will put them on Hollywood. Damn them. There you go.
Think about all these, come out right before Christmas Day. There's nothing open usually, or at least historically. All the stores are closed. Everything's, movie theaters is about the only thing that you can do in the afternoon or later that night. And you've had a couple of days of fun and family and eating and football and, you feel good, and then you go watch something depressing.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
I just don't know why movies have to have like the seasons. It drives me crazy. Like this time of year is the only time we can get these quote Oscar bait movies, as if the Academy can't remember the movies they saw in the past 9 to 10 months.
Historically, they don't. That's part of the problem, I guess, for them.
And I understand, and I think that's the fault of the Academy. You can't make a running list of the movies and how much you enjoyed them. How hard is that to remember the movies you've seen in the last year?
That's an excellent question. You should call them.
We talk about this with summer blockbusters a lot. I wish that the summer blockbusters weren't just narrowed down to just the summer. They're spread out over the season, so we had a little bit throughout the year. I feel the same way about Oscar bait movies. They don't all have to be in one spot. Let's have a summer blockbuster at Christmas and have some depressing stuff in the summer to bring us down a little bit.
To bring us down off our fun high. Can't have all this fun in one place. I'm exactly with Brian. It's like one time of year they want to just pound the message home. And why can't they pound that message home the rest of the year? Just because they want that gold statue? That's really all it seems like to me. It doesn't really seem like we're trying to showcase a movie that, we think the audiences will love, or we think is a deeper meaning. It seems like it's an Oscar season.
It almost makes it seem disingenuous.
It does, very much. Thank you. It seems like they're just going for the trophy. So it's not that I don't like some of the films. I mean, I do kind of sometimes get tired of the hammered over the head message movies. But, overall, I don't mind these movies throughout the year. Just don't give them to me all at once. And don't do it because you won a trophy. Mm-hmm. Because really, what does that trophy get you in the long run, other than, I guess, a few more million, maybe. But
it opens a few doors.
It does open some doors. But speaking of message movies, when you go to movies like this, at what point, because a lot of these movies do have a message involved, like Brian was talking about. They talk about atrocities and whatnot. At what point does a movie lose its message for you?
Well, usually it's when they have said it for the 5th time. But really, for me, it's when everybody's just so earnest in their performances, and they're just trying so hard to give you that deep message. It's the overacting and the over sentimentalization of what they're trying to say. Nothing will put me off faster than that.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Can you give an example?
You sound shocked.
Yeah, kind of. I was waiting for you to come up with something just only Justin would come up with, but that actually makes sense. Give us kind of an example.
Oh gosh, You Look Precious.
Oh yeah, that good one.
To me was it just everybody the involved with that one, especially Sandy, as I like to call her. Just it's too much. I felt like they were trying to wring me dry, like I was some kind of kitchen towel that they were using to wipe up tears. And don't try so hard. Just give me the story. Give me some good acting. I'll get there with you. You don't have to break out a violin at every turn.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's kind of like what you said with the preaching. I get really bugged when a movie sits there and tries to make me feel guilty about something that I had nothing personally to do with. Seriously, like I understand that horrible things happen to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Are we getting into the chains again?
Are we thinking slavery? Is that
not necessarily just that. Anything that
Holocaust,
somebody
slavery,
was
anything?
Where someone was abused, and I already feel bad about it. It's not like you're going to convince me that I need to feel bad about it, but to make me feel guilty, like I was somehow responsible, you just lose me.
That makes sense, guy. Don't
you
worry.
Sound surprised?
No. I'm not surprised. I'm just waiting for these guys to jump and try to bury you with it.
Yeah,
that's all.
I was too.
Which none of them did, so I respect that. My hammering the frickin' message home. I don't like, and I'll use it for example because I don't care. Slavery movies. I don't. Very similar to what you were trying to explain. When you're talking about a topic that's very near and dear to people, and for an entire generation, whether it be the Holocaust, whether it be slavery, whether it be anything where there was some sort of genocide or mass pain inflicted on a particular group of people specifically, and you just focus on the evil of that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you don't show any of the positive of that message, because I'm sorry, even in the worst atrocity, there are always people who do not feel that is right. Mm-hmm. There are always people who do not agree with whatever was done. There are always another side to that story. And movies that never tell the other side of that really have a hard time keeping me. Mm-hmm. I use Captain Phillips is a good example. You're talking about Somali pirates. By all accounts, they're evil people, right? But in the movie, they present them as they do try to explain where they're coming from. Mm-hmm. To me, that sells a message way more to me, and it doesn't lose me. Now, if that movie would have just came and showcased them as evil people, it would have lost me 5 minutes into the movie. Because if you're going to give me something that was based on realism, I have a real hard time staying with it if everybody's an evil mustache twirler. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things that has a hard time keeping me.
Sure.
And I'm at the blind side, not Precious. Sorry.
Precious is a good example, too, though. They tried so hard with that movie. I mean, it was
I didn't want people sending in emails. Sandra Bullock wasn't in Precious.
I was
she
sitting
was
there
in
going,
the blind side.
Yeah, good call. But Precious, I think, works a little bit more than Blindside, though. Blindside's a little too trying earnest. Precious wasn't being earnest at all.
It was too precious.
Yeah, it was, wow. Brian?
Yeah, I just don't like the overly obvious preaching, really the first two movies that really come to mind was Avatar and which was just it was just I don't know. It just was like, really, this is a 2-hour
Hate
3D,
the white man.
you know. And Wally, which I love the movie. It's funny. It's very entertaining, but I mean, it's just it's right there in your face. Like, hey, littering's bad. So, don't do it. This is what the world's going to end up as, global warming and too much trash. We're all going to have to leave this freaking planet. So I prefer less hammering over the head with it.
Well, speaking of hammering over the head, if a filmmaker is trying to convey a message to you through a movie, what works best for you guys? Like, what actually makes you say, okay, you know what? I get what they're saying. Is it realism? Is it over the head with a hammer? Is it a softer touch? What?
Mine is pretty much exactly what you said in the previous one, and it is a level of unbias where you're seeing both sides, like you mentioned. Nothing grates on me more in a movie, and not just documentaries, but in any movie, that looks at an issue or an event from only one side. Mm-hmm. Like you said, and treats this person this group of people as all evil, or this group of people is nothing but saints, kind of thing. I like to see a little bit both sides of it. I'm not a big controversy guy in general, though. I've said that. So, like, I go into these movies not really, not that I'm closed-minded when I go to it, but I'm not going to watch a movie to be swayed. I'm going to a movie to be entertained. Unless it's a documentary, I'm going there for the information and to get a look at something like that. But I go to a movie to escape, not to make my brain think a different way.
In order to win me over, you have to show me both sides. I cannot get behind any message movie that doesn't show me the full context of the message. I don't subscribe to the plot where I should feel bad about the sins of my ancestors. I don't subscribe to the theory that I should feel bad for an entire generation and what happened to them if you're not going to show me both sides of that story. I'm just one of those people where I want to see the whole picture. I want to see, granted, I think the Germans were absolutely wrong in that war, and Nazi Germany. Absolutely, Jews were persecuted, but I want to see the story of the German soldiers and what brought them to that point that they thought this was okay in their heads. To me, that's an interesting story. Is it a happy story? Hell no. But if you're going to tell me a story about something atrocious and you're trying to teach me a lesson or enlighten me or educate me, then educate me fairly. Don't just educate me from your perspective. Because to me, I have a hard time with that. Same thing with documentaries. Whenever you're watching a documentary, it's very hard for me to get behind it if the documentarian is only presenting their opinion. Like Michael Moore's notorious for that. I actually think Michael Moore does a good job of getting the word out if he's trying to raise an issue in some respects. But he is so biased in his presentation that it's hard to get behind whatever his message is. Because he even when he tries to give a fair representation, at some point he has to throw his opinion in there. And that, to me, takes the message out. I want someone to deliver the message fully and accurately, as accurately as possible, and still make it entertaining, obviously. But that's really what works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it more subtle. I mean, kind of as I alluded to earlier. The first thing that came to mind for me was Richard Donner. He would place very strategically political posters or messages throughout the movie, and most people don't really pay too much attention to it, but it was kind of like his way of making statements without necessarily interfering with the movie itself, because obviously Lethal Weapon is not it's not a statement on the economy in the 80s or whatever.
Yeah, but he did that through all 4 movies. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but and he plays the stuff, and you'll just see a conversation of Riggs and Murtaugh, and then they're in a police station and they're about like end apartheid or something like that. So yeah, and I'm fine with that. Okay, but don't ruin the movie by trying to jam something down my throat. Sorry, that was bad.
Well, as far as documentaries go, I actually prefer the kind that are biased one way or another. A documentary isn't a piece of journalism. It doesn't have to be a piece of journalism. I like people who have passion and want to, whether their opinion I agree with it or not. If they're taking that passion and making a film that they want to, show you about what they're passionate, whether it's Michael Moore's films or, Food Inc. and things like that, I'm fine with that. But if we're talking about just a fictional story, I prefer, and I like Brian used the word subtlety. I think subtlety is definitely the way to go. I don't want a character that's an archetype. I don't want a character that's a caricature. I want real human beings. There's not often, a mustache twirling bad guy. I think Scotty mentioned that earlier. Bring me people who are actually human beings, and bring me a story that's about real people. As soon as it becomes a message film, and you can see that message writ large across every face and hear it in every word they say, it's just it becomes too much, and you lose me.
Have any films, here's we get to the meat of things, have any films actually affected you guys personally, whether it altered your feeling on an opinion or something, positively, negatively, either way?
No.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've been moved by movies. It brought a tear. I cringe, whatever the case is, but I've not changed the way I think about, I don't know, whatever, politics, women, video games, driving. None of them have.
Okay. Fair enough.
Maybe the collective, all the movies I've watched, maybe all together as a collective unit, it has maybe skewed some views or something. But I don't think in general, it's not like, man, I don't know. I really hate yellow M&Ms, but after watching this documentary or this movie by James Cameron, you know what? I think I'm going to accept them now. They actually taste just like the red ones.
I would argue that because if you saw E.T., you wanted Reese's Pieces as soon as that movie was over. I'm just saying. If you say no, you're lying. You're lying.
Well, we've all been, yeah. I mean, you watch Rocky, you want to go hit somebody. I mean, I've had those types of things, but not really, I'm thinking like larger scale there. I'm thinking like, personal views on whatever, race or mentally challenged people or, sexual preferences or whatever. It's none of my views have changed because I watched Philadelphia.
Well, after watching the Transformer films, I have so much more sympathy for toasters and all those other machines that are
I'm more scared of them now. I have to take a double take at my boombox. Just don't want to turn it into a big monster.
If it twitches, I'm shooting it. No, we spoke about it episodes before, but really the only film I think that's ever just touched me in ways that no other film ever had before or has since, Dead Poets Society. It's one of those movies that took a topic that I really had not a lot of passion for, and by the time it was over with, I had to start writing. It was that powerful in its message that words have meaning, words have power, and within all of us, there's stories that maybe don't have to be told, but you should try and tell if you have that in you. And because of that, I started writing and have been writing ever since. So that's about the only example that I have of a film really personally touching me in an emotional way. I think Food Inc. has done, it's a documentary, it opened my eyes to so many things I had never thought about, never knew about, as far as the food that we eat, why we eat it, how we eat it, and how it's produced. And it definitely changed when I go into a grocery store. The way I buy food was irrevocably changed because of that movie.
Oh wow!
I'm kind of with Brian as far as like story movies. I racked my brain for a while trying to think of something that I felt like I changed my viewpoint on something. But outside of documentaries, I really could not think of any. And the documentaries, Justin mentioned Food Inc., and I've talked about it before, but that movie Super Size Me documentary about the guy that ate McDonald's for like a month
Yeah, that
straight.
actually changed your whole
Morgan
outlook.
Spurlock.
Is
Yeah.
that his name? Yeah, I actually went on a 6 to 7 year hiatus of McDonald's after watching that thing. So, I mean, that was a pretty big change in my life.
Yeah, it's a huge change, I would say.
So,
Me, there's a couple. I mean, Top Gun made me think joining the Navy was a good idea. That was wrong because, like I said, no sexy volleyball in the Navy.
that's why you wanted to join.
That's why it seemed okay in my eyes. Because I'm like, man, I'm going to be a cool-ass fighter pilot. I was not. Rear Window is my favorite movie, and I've talked about it before, but that really made me appreciate film. I never really was that invested. Kind of like Justin was with Dead Poet Society. I wasn't invested in film until I saw that movie. It's just one of those things that made me appreciate film itself and how the simplicity of telling a story with just camera movements and that sort of thing. So several things. But in terms of actually changed my outlook on things, and you guys have mentioned it a couple of times, but it did for me, was Philadelphia. Because I'll be honest, when it came out, it was 20 years ago. I was young. I was 20 years old. And AIDS scared the crap out of me because nobody, it was at that point where the media was just everything was AIDS. Everybody had AIDS. It was a gay person.
Everybody's got AIDS.
Yeah, it was.
Everything causes AIDS.
Yep. It was still a gay person's disease. I mean, that's honestly how it was presented in all forms. So it's something that scared the crap out of people. Nobody ever wants to admit that now, but people said that everywhere. And of course they'll deny. Oh no, I was so open minded. No, the fuck you weren't. And I'm sorry. Were you with me, B? You with me?
Yep.
And it just scared the crap out of me. And especially I'm a hypochondriac, that didn't help. So I saw this movie and it really blew me away. Do I think it's the best movie ever? No. But what it did was, as soon as I left the movie, I had a different appreciation for the people suffering from the disease. Mm-hmm. So I went out, I researched more on actually what HIV is, before AIDS, before it blooms into AIDS. And it made me rethink a lot of things because the movie presented it as this is just a disease. Stop treating it like it's the plague and you're going to get it because somebody sneezes on you. It doesn't work like that. I did a lot of research. I learned a lot more about it. It really opened my eyes to what that fight was and created a sympathy I didn't have prior to it. So in terms of actually changing, that movie, I would say, actually did affect how I feel about things. And I'm really sorry that none of you guys were affected, sons of bitches.
I never saw it.
You never saw Philadelphia?
It's when it came out, all I thought was, that looks like a fucking downer.
It was definitely a downer.
It was the feel-good, movie of the
Yes,
winter season.
feel-good movie of
But
'93.
it humanized something for you that had beforehand not been.
Yes, absolutely.
And I can completely understand what you're talking about.
It definitely gave face to it. And a couple of our listeners, Josh Steima, not at all. He has no problem with serious movies. Summer is always synonymous with big dumb fun, which is all well and good, but the fall and winter seasons are a little more serious, and it's refreshing to have films that are touching and get people talking. Films that spark debate on serious topics, not otherwise touched on the rest of the year, are always a treat to seek out. The Way Back in 2011 was a movie that stuck with me for quite a while. I don't know if I ever saw that.
So is The Way Back the sequel then?
Ashley Stewart says, Food Inc. I didn't eat any meat except fish for a couple years after watching it because I couldn't handle it. And the documentary...
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should watch it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, you may want to rethink fish if you've seen what happened to the water lately. There's some waste in there.
Thanks, Japan.
Thanks, Japan. And the documentary isn't even trying to make you stop eating meat. It just wants you to know where it comes from. That way you can make an informed decision where you buy your meat and produce. Good points, everybody. I know it's a serious topic, but every once in a while we like to do that. And this week we're starting a new trend. We're starting a new subject or whatever you want to call it, segment, however you want to call it, called Make Scotty See It. Because too often Scott Clark has not seen a movie we're talking about. So every week we're going to make him watch a movie, and next week
film school.
You're really going to do this?
or whenever we want to do it. It's kind of like film school. There you go. We're going to give him a movie, and the next week he's got to give us like a 1-minute review of what he thought of this movie, so he can finally catch up. Listeners, please feel free. Email us some choices you think Scott Clark has to see, and we'll draw one at random. This week, Justin and Brian synonymously picked Weird Science.
Okay.
Synonymously?
Synonymous?
How do we synonymously pick it together?
I don't
Maybe
know.
it's simultaneously.
Simultaneously.
Man, is it late. Simultaneously picked one together. It's Weird Science. So, Scott, by next show, you have to have watched Weird Science and give us a 1-minute review.
All right.
You got it?
All right.
So you know what that means, folks. He has not seen Weird Science yet.
That's right. It's got to be a movie he hasn't seen, because really,
What
what would be the
the
point?
F?
Well, now we'll see what he thinks. And before we get to emails, let's do Facebook for all new Facebook likes. We always mention you on the show. This week, or since last week, Shelley Seaton, Jana Mazzarelli, Pablo Meza, and Douglas Clayton. Thanks, everybody, for liking us. We appreciate it. Junebug sent us a tweet asking us what we thought about a new feminist rating system in Sweden. There's a new system where basically they are rating films based on how sexist the movies are. Justin, go first. I know you'd love to tackle this topic,
Well,
especially if there's lesbians involved.
I don't, because it's a topic that is a serious topic. I mean, the gist of it is that they've come up with this new rating system called the Bechdel test, which is based on a comic strip that was drawn and written by a woman, I think back in '85 or something, where if a movie did not have two female characters in it that talked for more than 1 minute about any subject other than a guy, then it failed her test. And so in Sweden, they're wanting to try and raise awareness about women characters, and the lack of women characters in movies. And then even when they are in a movie, how their sole reason to be there seems to be as some kind of, accessory to a guy, or their whole reason, all they want in the movie is to be with a guy. And so this test is to show people how few women there are. And so on the surface of it, I can completely get behind that. I am sympathetic to the complete lack of women in, Hollywood movies these days. It's getting a little better, but not by leaps and bounds. I'd have to say almost all of the big successful movies, whether we're talking the blockbusters of summer or the tearjerkers of winter, are still guy movies. And look at Avengers. There's one female character, and she's really kind of a secondary character at best. I get it, and I understand it, but I'm not sure if something like this, it seems almost more antagonistic than it does informative. And so I'm not sure if what they're wanting to do is what they're going to end up doing.
I agree with that. I personally think, as a father of a daughter who I often was frustrated with the way movies presented women in film. Seriously, it always bugged me because I can't stand in movies especially when I'm watching it with my daughter, and every woman has to talk about the guy. Everything revolves around a guy. I can't stand that. Nothing will irk me more, which is one reason why I got her into Buffy. Because that was one show, and I know that we don't want to bring that up every 15 minutes, but that was one show.
Yeah, we do.
Where the women,
it was awesome.
Women had, that wasn't what it was about. Everything wasn't about the boy. She was a strong female figure. She was a strong character. She was an individual, not a woman or a man, just an individual. And that was important, I thought. And I think a rating, like you said, antagonizes. If people really want to change that, vote with your money. That's really how that gets changed. When female-led films come out, go see them. When those kind of character films come out, go see them. Show Hollywood that you will pay to see them in a theater if you want to see them made. That's really ultimately how things change. That's my opinion. We do have a quick, Ashley was kind enough to send us a review of 12 Years a Slave. I will be seeing it for the next show, but we've been trying to bring you a quick review of that movie, so she was kind enough to call in and give us one. So here is Ashley's review of 12 Years a Slave.
Hello, guys. It's your friendly neighborhood movie correspondent, Ashley. No, I'm just joking. But I do have a little review for 12 Years a Slave. I just watched the movie tonight, and it is official. That is the best movie of 2013. and I know what you're going to say, Aaron. I know that you're going to say it's just because I'm obsessed with Steve McQueen and Michael Fassbender because of Shame and Hunger and everything of that nature. But I guarantee you that is not the case. The score is flawless. The screenplay is literally beautiful. The words that they were saying, wonderful. What I was actually seeing on the screen, flawless. Cinematography, loved it. It was so moving that as the credits rolled, I was weeping, and my friend had to cuddle me and hold me while I pulled myself together. By the grace of Jesus, I had waterproof mascara on. Everyone needs to do themselves a favor and see this film in theaters. We need to tell the studios that we support movies like this. Well, I hope that was helpful, and awesome show as usual, guys. Thanks. Bye.
All right, now let's go to emails, Justin. You got the first
All right,
one.
our first one's from Ashley. She says, hello, sirs. Justin, I loved your Clio reference. I was doing my hair, laughed out loud, and dropped the flat iron. Listening to you guys is definitely a hazard if you're listening whilst operating a heated hair utensil. Maybe we should put that on the label.
I don't know, this was a serious one for the last, 25 minutes, so people might be mad, Debbie Downers.
Committing suicide with their hair utensils. Aaron, I was a little disappointed you didn't love The Counselor, but I can't in good conscience actually recommend it to anyone. I liked it, but I have no idea why.
You can't be disappointed because that movie sucked. The actors were fine, but that movie sucked.
Lastly, I was chatting with someone on a second date about movies and brought up the Days of Future Past trailer. I told them my thoughts and how excited I was about it. They proceeded to tell me they didn't understand the hype and that it would probably still be garbage. There will be no future dates with this person.
Wow.
All hail X-Men.
Wow.
Hey, that's as good a criteria as anything.
Brian?
You guys need a fucking parent on your show. Firstly, because it's weird to hear grown men talking about seeing what are, in the main, kids' movies without, actually having kids and that parental perspective there to guide your opinions a bit.
I've got two of them, Chico, just letting you know. Secondly, and more importantly, because of all the little things you missed, for example, Justin hating on the Big Bang Theory theme song last week, I see that song as a super clever way to insinuate a scientific worldview upon kids who may be growing up in a house that supports idiocy like creationism in schools.
Was that a shot across Scotty's beam?
Week after week after week, for years now, young kids are hearing, repeating, singing along, and internalizing specific details about the evolution of the universe and life on Earth right under our ignorant parents' noses, and that is a beautiful thing. Go, or as you fuckers keep calling me, J-Rock NYC. Damn right we do. P.S. I reserve the right to punch anyone who would call his band Bare Naked Ladies in the stomach and or neck if given the opportunity, because Megadeth. PS2, love hearing my drunk email read last week, which is a couple weeks ago, but I will try not to burden you with any more till at least next year. PS3, it's okay to vote for you daily at Podcast Awards on my home PC and my work computer, right? Absolutely. If you got 2 emails, do it. Knock yourself out. Scotty?
No PS4? Oh, wait, that's in a couple weeks.
Oh, wow.
All right, new rule.
Yep.
New rule. No more than one PS in an email. If you just keep adding paragraphs, fine.
We also got a tweet from D.A. Cheney. She says, I can't lie, I did giggle out loud at Scott's use of scamper there. Something about that word is funny. We also got a Facebook from Douglas Clayton. He says, thanks for keeping my windshield time entertaining. Big fan of you crazy SOBs. Keep it up.
And Tammy said, well, I didn't listen to the outtakes the first time, but I listened to the second round. I was treated to the Good Times theme. It was actually the Jeffersons theme. It was the Jeffersons theme. But it was still fantastic, and both of those themes are great songs. So make sure to stay through the credits for outtakes. Go to thehollywoodoutsider.com or tweet us at H_outsider, facebook.com/thehollywoodutsider. Leave us a message or text us at 818-814-6426. And once again, our email, feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Listen and subscribe on iTunes for free. Listen on your Stitcher Radio app and through our RSS feed. That's going to do it for this episode of The Hollywood Outsider. I want to thank Justin.
Thanks, man. And if we ever do another after hours episode, we need to do a karaoke.
Just nothing but karaoke.
Nothing but us singing.
Wow.
I'm in.
I'm not.
'Cause it's good times. Good times.
Brian, thanks for being here, buddy.
All right.
And Scott.
Thanks for having me as always, man.
All right. And remember, guys, the next time you go to a theater, buy popcorn.
But Aaron, you think everybody's laughing with you. We're usually laughing at you.
No, I never think you're laughing with me.
We're not laughing at you. We're laughing near you.
Wow.
Well, hell, he didn't get a fucking weird science reference earlier, so I'm not.
A movie I've never seen. Yeah, go figure.
How the fuck have you never seen Weird Science?
Look at him turn it around. Look at him. I see you turn it around.
Watch Weird Science. That's right.
You're
What's
welcome.
your favorite that? Have we favorited that?
I will favorite that right now. Can I tell you how weird it is listening to us while we're all on here? Flyer,
I
man.
still think you fucked all the people who joined before you started doing that.
I
I
did.
think you should just have one show where you're listing like a couple hundred names.
How much you want to bet on?
No, because you'd fucking start making names up that are like 8 syllables.
I'd like to thank Carlos Danger.
Carlos Danger. Why do these all sound like Pacific Rim robots?
Well, you know what they say, no matter how hot a woman is, somewhere
Somebody
there's a guy
somewhere.
sick of her shit.
Yep. Scott knows. I'm that guy.
I don't know how to respond to that.
This is the Hollywood
Master.
You're a robot.
I am Aaron.
This is the Hollywood Outsider. I'm sorry. This is the Hollywood Outsider.
Johnny Five.